The Great War started on July 28, 1914 and ended in November 11, 1918, and that lasted for 4 bloody years. Everyone was sick and tired of the war. People got anxious about their sons, brothers, fathers, and even their grandpas marching into battlefield. The Germans were sick and tired of it too, so they decided to make an attack that would end it all by launching an offensive in the spring of 1918. They called this the Great Spring Offensive. The German High Command found a very great opportunity. The Russian army had walked away from the war to make a revolution. Though this gives the Germans a chance to win the war, the Triple Entente had an ace up their sleeves. The Americans, though a little late, finally joins their side of the battle. Ludendorff wanted to launch this massive attack before the American army are able to get to the battlefield. But why did Ludendorff launch this offense? It's because they were desperate, and the whole situation on their side was getting desperate as well. They also saw that the openings in this offense are very effective, so he wanted to make this the last final push against the Allies. The Spring Offensive is not just one offensive, but 5 different offensives that are happening all at the same time. They sent the soldiers from the Eastern Front down to the Western Line, and their plan was to gain land as much as possible and to push their line down to Paris, so that when the war ends, Germany would be able to have a good negotiating position. The first offensive, Operation Michael, was able to gain 45 kilometers of land near the Somme within 4 days. This offense came out very successful because the soldiers branched out into small units and carried lightweight weaponry, such as flamethrowers and light machine guns. This allowed them to infiltrate behind enemy lines to move forward. In 10 days, they captured 90,000 Allied soldiers as prisoners of war. But the French tried to hold them off, and the offense was broken off to move to a different one. Because of this offense, General Foch assigned all the French troops to go back and defend Paris. In April 9, 1918, the second defense, Operation Georgette, occurred in French Flanders. They tried to take the town of Ypres. They almost had it. However, they managed to take 6 kilometers within the first day on a different area. Though the British were able to stop their forward and hold their position, therefore Ludendorff breaks off this offense on the 29th of April and moves to a different part of the line. It was a short, quick offense. The Germans lost about 348,000 men. The British lost 236,000 men, while the French suffered fewer losses, around 92,000 men approximately. The third offense, called Blücher now has traveled to the French side to try to take more territory. They keep moving using Paris as their target, but again, using their lightweight stormtroopers and use their infiltration tactic. This came out very successful as well, resulting the French pushed back to 32 kilometers, all the way back to the River Marne. The Germans decided to break this offense when the Americans came to the battlefield and helped the French hold their position. Now the Germans moved on to their fourth offense, Gneisenau. Excuse the pronunciation. This is where the Germans have moved back all the way to the land that they've gained on the first offense, trying to keep pushing toward into Paris. They managed to push up to 12 kilometers. However, this time, the French have a better understanding about where their attacks are coming from and have gotten a stronger on their defenses. They were able to do a counteroffense on the Germans, and they were pushed backed a little bit. This forced the Germans to break off this offense. The last offense, Friedensturm, happened back to Marne, where they were able to gain some land in the third offense, again their goal trying to push all the way back to Paris. The Germans used about 9,000 tons of gas, but the French was now improved on the defense tactics and knew that this attack was coming and kept their soldiers back to the second line, where most of them were not affected by the gas. The French started to counterattack the Germans when they were able to hold their position in just a few days. And on the first day of their counterattack, they were able to take 20,000 German prisoners. And at this point, the German spring offensive has come to an end and it breaks off. They no longer had ideas, no more reserves, no more supplies, and since the stormtroopers carried so little, again, they didn't have any more reserves, ammunition, or supplies to back them up. The Germans simply cannot push anymore. And that's where the German Spring Offensive comes to an end. The Germans couldn't send any more men up at the front line and were running out of supplies, all because of the situation up in their motherland, Germany. The soldiers were starving from the lack of food and getting sick from all the bad living conditions, and the well-trained stormtroopers have mostly lost their lives during the offenses. And they were just left with young and skilled men who weren't able to do anything. They didn't know what to do. Soldiers getting sick and just couldn't perform well in the battlefield was because of the outbreak of the Spanish influenza in June 1918. Most importantly, General Foch was able to stop the Germans because of how well coordinated the Allied responses. So, this offensive started off strong, effective, and successful, but because of all these reasons, the Germans have surrendered and signed an armistice due to their new government in November 11, 1918.